Hey everyone, and welcome to another Davinci Resolve tutorial. In this video, I'll show you 10 ways to zoom in on your footage or your images on the timeline. So without further ado, let's get started. The first way to do it is I'll go to my timeline, make sure that your inspector is opened, and put your playhead on top of your footage or just click on it. If you go to the inspector, we have zoom and position, and using these two attributes, we can zoom in and zoom out and changing the position. So if I click on it and drag up and down, I'll zoom in and out. In this case, these are locked, and you want them to be locked because we want it to scale up and down proportionally. And then we have the X position and the Y position to change what I'm looking at after I zoom in. This is for the first one. The second one is simply the same thing. We're gonna use the transform of the clip, but instead of using these sliders here or these fields here, we will use the tactile tool. The tactile tool is down here. If you click on it, you will activate it. There are other tactile tools, not just the transform, but in this case, we want the default one, the first one that is selected, which is transform. Now you can see it at this instance because I'm zoomed in already. And to see it, I need to zoom out from my viewer, not my image. So if I scroll down, I can see the border of my image. And see this box here? This is the tactile tool. If I click on the corner, I can scale it down and up. And if I click anywhere in the middle, I can change the position. And in addition, if you click on this dot here, you can rotate right and left, but we don't want to do rotation in this case. When I'm changing the size and changing the position, these value will change, and all of these can be animated. So I can activate the animation and put my playhead at a specific point in time and change these value, then put it somewhere else and change these value to add animation. Instead of changing the clip itself, this is like a nice way of doing it inside of Davinci Resolve. We go to effects. From effects down here, we select fusion adjustment. When you put the fusion adjustment, let's make it bigger. If you click on it, we can do the same thing by changing the transform value here, but in this case, when I change it, I'm not changing my clip. My clip stayed the same, but what I'm changing is the adjustment clip. And the cool thing, we can turn it on and off, and we can even like add fade in and fade out and do much more advanced things with it. So I do prefer using the adjustment clip. Now with the adjustment clip, we can use the tactile tool. So if I have it turned on, I'm changing it. But in this case, as you can tell, I'm not changing my image. This is not the full image that I have, because if you remember, if I turn this off, this is my image. My image is way bigger. But in this case, my adjustment layer, that's the only thing that it's giving me. If I zoom out, you can see the black border around it, because it will take it as my image. For it, that's what it sees. That's why when you want to do this effect, unless specifically you want it to do what I did now, what you need to do is reset the values on the original clip and then go to the adjustment clip and start zooming in and out and changing the position. That's why you have the entirety of the image if we do it this way. The cool thing with the adjustment clip, because it's a separate layer, we can move it and put it on other clips and we still get the same effect from it. And we can duplicate it. So if I hold Alt and click on it and move to the right or left, I'll duplicate this part of the adjustment clip and I can put it anywhere I want. The fifth one is dynamic zoom. You want to use it specifically to zoom in and out. But let's say I have this image in this case, right? While I'm on top of this image, because I don't want it to look so lifeless, I want it to kind of like zoom in over time to give you the feeling as if someone is moving in the clip. So what we could do is to use a dynamic zoom. We can still use all of the techniques we already discussed to do this effect, but with those you have to add keyframes to make this happen. But with this, you don't need to do it. You have dynamic zoom here. By default, it will be turned off. Click on it to activate it, and you have multiple ways to do the easing, and then we have a button called swap. Go to the tactile tool and go through the drop down menu all the way to the dynamic zoom. We have two boxes. One of them is the beginning box and the other one is the ending box. And to tell which one is which, if I clicked on this one, in this case the red one is my beginning box and the green one is my target box. And what it will do, it will start the clip starting from the beginning box and end the clip with the target box. I need to turn it off to preview what I'm doing. So if I turned it off and go to the beginning of the clip and drag my playhead, you can see I'm zooming in. If you want to have the opposite effect, either you have to scale this up and scale this down, or simply just click swap. We can add an adjustment clip, and on the adjustment clip, we will turn dynamic zoom. And as you can see, we're zooming in and out. And now we have another way. Like always, we can do the effect on an adjustment clip or on the clip itself. We'll do it on the adjustment clip, but you already understand that we can do it directly on the clip if you don't want to do it on the adjustment clip. If you go to your effects here, from here, go to open effects and click on the search bar here and find transform. You'll find this filter that called transform. If I click on it and drag it on my adjustment clip, click on it, and from the effect, not on the video tab, go to the effect tab. We have the first one. It's simply exactly what you see in the video here. We have the zoom, position, rotation. If I go to the effect, I have similar option. We can animate these, so we can do the zoom in and out just using these values here, change the position and so on. But in addition to this, what we can do is add a motion blur. The only problem with this, because it's a filter, we can't use a tactile button down here. It won't affect the values here. It will affect the values in the video. This next technique that I will show you, it's a little bit more complicated, but it will allow you to add motion blur without using this filter. Clicking on the clip and then click on the fusion button here. Now I'll do everything directly to the clip. Turn this off, and here grab the transform node, add it to your timeline, connect the media into it, then connect the output of the transform to the media out. Now we have a transform node added, and in the transform node we have center and we have size, which will do the same effect that we had for the zoom and for the position. So if we want to change the position, we can change it using these values. And at the same time, we have this tactile tool here. We can use it to move things around. Unfortunately, you can't scale using the tactile. You can rotate, but you can't scale. So if you want to scale, you go to that size. And now we change these values. If I go to my adjustment clip now and I click on it, now again, as you can tell, we don't have the node that we already had down here. That's because I'm now clicking on the adjustment clip itself. So we can add again, transform. Once you add it, change these values. And the same way, because this is the adjustment clip, it will see what we already had. What we had from the image is that portion that is zoomed in. So it won't take the entirety of the image, it will just work with this small section. That's why when you want to do it, make sure to reset your values on the clip itself and add everything on the adjustment clip. And just to show you, if I go back here, make sure everything is reset. So simply if you click on this button here, which reset all the values everywhere, like you can reset. And let's just make sure that we don't have the transform node here. And I'll go back here and add a transform node to this one. Go to the adjustment clip, click on it, and go to your timeline. So if I add like transform, and I'll zoom in, move this up here. And you can also animate inside the fusion. Like you already know, all of these attributes have these buttons next to them to allow you to start animating them. If you go to settings here, we have motion blur, so we can turn on and adjust the quality and the shutter angle and a lot of options here. So that's it. Hope you liked it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, and see you in another one.